There's a possibility that the New England Patriots could officially be getting their wide receiver one, with Terry McLaurin officially requesting a trade just 24 hours ago out of Washington. Now, the Patriots have been linked to Terry McLaurin for quite a while now. I mean, all the way just back to a few weeks ago, where these rumors started because of just how unhappy Terry McLaurin has vocally been with the Washington Commanders. Now, for those who don't know, a couple of weeks ago, Breer reported that he expects the Patriots to be all in and expected to target Terry McLaurin if he does become available. Now that the trade has officially been requested, these rumors are only getting stronger and stronger. So let's roll the clip and let's listen to what Breer had to say just a couple of weeks ago on NBC Sports Boston.
Lot happening right now between the Commanders and McLaurin, which is part of why the frustration is what it is. There hasn't been much progress because there hasn't been much talk between the sides. And I think that's why Terry felt compelled to say what he said publicly. And this is a guy who has been a team captain for a long time. Exemplary character, all of that. So my anticipation is that the Commanders are going to take a swing at getting something done with him over the course of the next week. Just because it makes too much sense for both sides. I think the Patriots would be very interested in this. Now, there's a price point for all of it, and what would that mean? And, obviously he's not going to come here with an unresolved contract situation, so you'd be talking about a draft pick plus a contract. He's a little older than people realize because he was a 5-year college guy, so he's over 30 now. But, certainly as far as like what they're looking for from a person, from a player, helping Drake, like this guy checks every box.
Now, I know what you guys are thinking, okay? Colby, you probably already said it in the comments. Colby, why would the Commanders trade Terry McLaurin, okay? That is a top 3 player on their team, no debate. Why would you get rid of your wide receiver one out of all of the assets the Commanders have put in over the last 2 years? And Colby, they literally were 1 game away from going to the Super Bowl, year 1 of a new regime under rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels. So why get rid of his number 1 weapon and one of the most important players there in Washington? And my reason for that is that I'm not saying it's going to happen. In fact, I would still be surprised if it ultimately did. But Terry McLaurin has been very vocally unhappy with that organization, okay? And he said himself, that's the organization that he wants to be at. That's the organization that he started his career with. He got married during his time in Washington. That's when his family started. That is to him home. But now because he has a family, now because he is married, it's well beyond football. It's well beyond what he wants personally. He now has to not just take care of himself, but he has to take care of his family. He has to be thinking long term, and he wants to get respect because Terry McLaurin, he's in the back end of his career, okay? He's still performing at a high level, but he's most certainly not in his prime anymore. Terry McLaurin is 29 years old. He'll be 30 years old come September. So with that being said, this is going to be his last opportunity to get one big contract, his last opportunity to make sure that he takes care of himself and his family for the rest of their lives. So he is going to go all in with his number 1 priority, making sure that he gets taken care of before his NFL career is done. And just a couple of weeks ago, he was in a press conference, and you can just hear the frustration in his voice. That has now led to him requesting the trade. Let's take a listen.
Frustrated, I'm not going to lie. Everything that has transpired up until this point has just been disappointing and frustrating. To see how things have played out has been disappointing. Obviously, I understand everything's a business, but at the same time, I want to put myself in a position where, I'm valued and, I feel appreciated and things like that. And
I think that's also very understandable, too, because, again, you look at all of the assets. Like I said earlier, you see all the assets the Commanders have put in, from Marshawn Lattimore to adding Zach Ertz to drafting Jayden Daniels. I mean, we can go on and on and on talking about the players they've added. I mean, Austin Eckler. But now you have an opportunity to pay a guy that, even before your organization was good, was producing for you and was a big reason on why you guys had the success. Your young quarterback had the success you did last year, but now all of a sudden you don't want to pay him. And I think this brings up the next question on what would the Patriots have to give up and what exactly is the contract that Terry McLaurin is looking for. Well, based off of what is being reported, the Commanders are only offering him somewhere between $25 to $28 million per year, and for him, that's not good enough. Reportedly, he wants somewhere between $30 to $35 million AAV, average annual value, which brings us into this next discussion on, well, okay, who are the highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League right now? Where would he rank if he gets the contract that ultimately he's looking for, which if he does get traded from the Commanders, he's not taking a pay cut to go to the Patriots. Like, they are going to have to give him the money that he is ultimately looking for. And so just by looking at this list, this is per over the cap. You have Jamar Chase, who got that big contract extension this offseason, making about $40.2 million a year. Then Justin Jefferson is making about $35 million a year. CeeDee Lamb is making $34 million a year. DK Metcalf is making $32.9 million a year. Garrett Wilson making $32.5, A.J. Brown making $32, Amon-Ra St. Brown making $30, Tyreek Hill making $30, Brandon Ayuk making $30, and then you start to get into T. Higgins and Jalen Waddle, who are making about $28 million a year, and both of those guys, while good receivers, are younger, but are wide receiver twos for their team. When you have Terry McLaurin, who's a wide receiver one for the Commanders, if he gets traded to the Patriots, he's going to be a wide receiver one for the Patriots. He is going to want to make wide receiver one money despite his age. That's the contract he's going to be looking for. So would I pay him $35 million a year? No, I'm not paying him more than CeeDee Lamb. No, I'm not paying him, even more than DK Metcalf. But would I pay him maybe what Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tyreek Hill are making? Yeah, I would. Would I even give him maybe $31 million a year, $31.5 million a year to come here to New England to play? Yeah, I would do that. But I'm not going to give him money that A.J. Brown is making or Garrett Wilson is making or CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson, because, again, those guys are younger, and those guys even more so are producing more than Terry McLaurin are. And I think that's something that McLaurin does also have to remember. So to me, what I would give Terry McLaurin, if it's up to me, because he's going to need a new contract, whether he's with the Commanders or whether he's coming to New England, is I would give him a 3-year deal worth about $30 to $31.5 million AAV. And if that's something that the Commanders are not willing to give, then hey, you can come to New England. And there's even a world in which New England might have to offer a little bit more money. They might have to push it and even offer around $32 million. And I know that is something that Patriots fans are going to hear, and they're going to say, I do not want to have to give up draft compensation, because chances are you're going to have to give up probably about a second or third round pick. Now, based off of trades recently for wide receivers, more specifically wide receiver ones, those guys do not go for much. It has been a couple of years since we have seen a wide receiver one actually traded for a first round pick. I think the last time we saw it was A.J. Brown back in 2022. So we see at least one wide receiver one traded every single year, but they don't go for a whole lot. DK Metcalf just within itself went for what, like a third round pick? So I do think that Terry McLaurin would probably go somewhere between a second and a third. But again, you are going to have to entice the Commanders a little bit also to move on from Terry McLaurin, because he is still signed under contract right now. He just wants to be traded. He doesn't want to participate because he doesn't have the contract right now that he currently wants. So that gets us also into the next point in how has he been producing lately? What can you expect from Terry McLaurin if he does come to New England? So share this with you guys real quick. So these are the numbers for Terry McLaurin as of late. This is just this past season. So reading this right here, most of McLaurin's stats have been consistent throughout his career. His PFF receiving grade has varied from 74.5 to 86.5 over his 6 seasons in Washington. McLaurin has been very consistent with between 900 to 1,200 receiving yards each season. After a more limited role in his rookie season, he caught between 77 to 88 passes each year. His 24 contested catches were the 4th most among wide receivers in the last 6 seasons. McLaurin caught 70.6% of his contested targets, while those ahead of him had many more targets and had a rate below 64%. McLaurin's 70.6% contested catch rate was the best for any wide receiver with at least 20 contested targets in a season over the last 6 years. His 9 touchdowns on contested catches were the most by a wide receiver in a season over the last 6 years. He scored 13 touchdowns total after scoring 4 or 5 in each of the 4 previous seasons. So gives you an idea on how is he performing lately? How has he performed over the course of his career? What would the expectations be? So look, again, I'm not saying he's going to come here and be a 1,400-yard guy like an A.J. Brown or like a Justin Jefferson, but he's going to still be hands down a wide receiver one. Even looking at his numbers from this past season, he had an overall PFF grade of 79.2, which ranked 20th out of 98 wide receivers, a receiving grade of 82.3, which ranked 19th out of 98 wide receivers, 115 total targets, which ranked 18th out of 98 wide receivers with 82 receptions, which ranked 15th out of 98 wide receivers for 1,096 yards. That ranked 12th in the NFL amongst 98 wide receivers, and 13 receiving touchdowns, which was second in the league amongst 98 wide receivers. To go along with that, he was averaging 13.4 yards per reception, and he had a passer rating, or rather, Jaden Daniels had a passer rating when targeted of 135.3. I think that Terry McLaurin would be a beautiful fit in this Josh McDaniels offense. Why? Because he has that speed. He has that versatility to play in the slot, but he's also, I want to make sure I get his measurements right. He's 6 foot, 210 pounds. So he has that ability to play in the slot, but he also has that ability to play on the outside, to be an X. And he's really, really good in contested catch situations, but he's also a really good route runner. He is quite literally the exact mold of receiver that has fit in Josh McDaniels' system before. And the Patriots, they've passed up on wide receiver ones in the past. They've been in on the trade market for several seasons, but they've always dropped out in the wide receiver one sweepstakes, right? Like most recently, they were in on DK Metcalf, but they dropped out on him for two different reasons. One, the contract got a little too rich for them. Two, he didn't really fit the Josh McDaniels system. And three, the character wasn't there. When you look at Terry McLaurin, I believe that they would be willing to pay that contract. The Patriots have $60 million still in cap space that leads the entire National Football League. The Patriots have the draft capital to be able to go out there and offer the Commanders a package well enough for them to accept it. But Terry McLaurin is also a leader. He fits the Josh McDaniels offense, but you heard it earlier. He was a captain. He's a captain in Washington. He fits the mold of what Mike Vrabel is looking for within a player on and off the field. And schematically, he fits what Josh McDaniels wants to do offensively. I think that this is the best case scenario for a wide receiver one that the Patriots are going to get, okay? I think that Patriots fans, if you want a wide receiver one, you're only getting it one of two ways. One, you're going out and you're drafting that guy, and that's the only way you are getting a wide receiver one that is young and still in his prime. Okay, that is the only way that you are getting a wide receiver one that way. But do you believe in the Patriots' ability to actually select a good wide receiver and then actually develop them, something that they haven't done in God knows how long? Or they can go out and they can trade for one. But if you're trading for a wide receiver one, chances are something's wrong. Chances are you have to give that guy an absolute bag, and chances are that guy's not going to be very young. So with that being said, you have to bite the bullet on one of those, because you're not going to get this perfect situation where you trade for a proven wide receiver one that is still young and still in his prime. That just quite literally never happens. And I think that Terry McLaurin, although he's about to be 30 years old, that 30-year-old hump is real, but I think he can still produce for you well over a 3-year span. And he might not put up 12, 13, 1,400 yards for you, but if he can consistently be a 1,000-yard receiver for you, and he can help out a young Drake May and help develop him the way that he was able to do for Jaden Daniels, then I think that that is an absolute success, because the Patriots' main priority is making sure that they start winning games, but more specifically, the number one priority is making sure that they do right by Drake May, making sure that entering year 2 and then year 3, that they develop him the best that they possibly can, because that is their biggest asset that will go the longest way into this team either winning or losing football games. But this is where I kick it off to you guys. Do you guys want the New England Patriots to make a trade for Terry McLaurin, or do you look at the current wide receiver core and say, I want to see what we have? I want to see what we have in Diggs. I want to see what we have in Matt Collins. I want to see what we have in Pop Douglas and KB. You guys let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for all your New England Patriots news, and hit that bell notification so that you get notified every single time I post a video, every single time I go live, every single time I post a short, because you are not going to want to miss out on Patriots content. This is your one-stop shop, and football, baby, is officially back. Make sure to leave a big like on the video on your way out, because it helps support your boy so much. But as always, I appreciate you guys for watching, and never forget, go Pats.